Stop making budgets that fail by day 3. Seriously, stop. If you have ever sat down with a spreadsheet, promised yourself that this month will be different, and then watched your budget fall apart before the week is over, the problem is probably not that you are lazy. The problem is that most budgets are built like punishment. They tell you to restrict everything. They tell you to track every tiny expense. They tell you to rely on willpower. And willpower is not a system. That is why so many people quit. Today, I want to show you a better way to manage money. Not a perfect way, a real way. One that fits normal human behavior and still helps you build wealth. I call it the anti-budget. The idea is simple. Instead of trying to control every dollar all the time, you build a system that does most of the work for you. You automate the important parts, you protect your future, and you give yourself permission to spend the rest without guilt. That is how you make a budget you will actually follow. Why traditional budgets fail? Most budgets fail because they depend on constant decision-making. Should I buy this coffee? Should I eat out tonight? Should I move money into savings? Should I skip the subscription? Should I transfer extra money to debt? That sounds manageable for a few days, maybe even for a week. But after a long day, after work stress, after seeing a sale online, after making 50 other decisions, your brain gets tired. And when your brain is tired, it looks for the easiest option, that is usually spending. This is why people who try to be extremely strict with money often end up rebounding hard. They cut too much, feel miserable, and eventually blow the budget completely. The anti-budget avoids that by doing something different. It accepts that you are human. It accepts that you will spend money. Then it builds rules around that reality. Phase 1, the truth audit. Before you build anything, you need to know the truth about your money. Not your guess, not the version you hope is true, the actual truth. For the next 30 days, do not try to be perfect. Just observe. Look at your bank statements from the last 3 months and sort your spending into 3 categories. First, survival. This includes rent or mortgage, minimum debt payments, utilities, basic groceries, transportation to work, and anything else you truly need to function. Second, future. This includes savings, investing, and extra debt payments. Third, lifestyle. This includes restaurants, shopping, streaming services, trips, hobbies, subscriptions, random online purchases, and anything else that is optional. Be honest with yourself here. A lot of people think they spend $200 on groceries when it is actually closer to $500. They think subscriptions are harmless until they add everything up and realize they are paying for 6 things they barely use. When you see the real numbers, the problem becomes clearer. And once the problem is clear, it becomes easier to fix. Phase 2, conscious spending. This is the part where the anti-budget becomes different from all the advice that tells you to stop enjoying your life. I do not want you to cut every coffee, every dinner out, and every small pleasure. If something genuinely makes your life better, keep it. The key is to spend more intentionally. That means cutting hard on the things you do not care about, so you can spend more freely on the things you actually love. For example, maybe you do not care much about clothes, but you really care about travel. Then stop overthinking clothes and put more money toward travel. Maybe you do not care about fancy cars, but you care a lot about eating well or going to the gym. Then do not waste money trying to impress people with a car payment you resent. This is the core rule. Spend more on what you value. Spend less on what you do not. That is not deprivation. That is design. Most people waste money on things they do not even enjoy because they never paused long enough to ask what actually matters to them. The anti-budget forces you to make that decision. Phase 3, build the 3-bucket system. Now we turn the idea into a system. Instead of one giant account where everything mixes together, you divide your money into 3 buckets. Bucket 1, fixed costs. This is your survival bucket. This should cover your rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, minimum debt payments, and other basic living expenses. For most people, this bucket should stay as low as possible without making life impossible. If your fixed costs eat up almost your entire paycheck, budgeting is not your biggest problem. Your income is. At that point, you either need to lower your cost of living or raise your income. Sometimes both. No spreadsheet can solve a math problem that does not work. Bucket 2, future fund. This is your wealth bucket. This money goes to savings, emergency funds, investing, and extra debt payoff. And this bucket should be automated. Do not trust yourself to move money later. Later usually turns into never. The moment your paycheck arrives, a portion should already be going to your future. The less you see it, the less likely you are to spend it. That is not weakness. That is smart design. If you have high interest debt, this bucket should help you attack it. If you do not have debt, it should help you build an emergency fund and start investing. Either way, this bucket is what keeps your future from getting sacrificed for your present. Bucket 3, guilt-free spending. This is the best part of the system. Whatever is left after your fixed costs and future fund is your guilt-free money. You can spend it on food, entertainment, clothes, hobbies, dates, concerts, games, or anything else you actually enjoy. And the important part is this: you do not have to feel bad about it. Why? Because your bills are covered, your future is funded, and this money is specifically for living. That is why this system works better than a strict budget. It gives you freedom inside boundaries. Phase 4, automate the whole thing. A budget becomes much easier to follow when you stop depending on memory. So the next step is automation. Start by setting up your paycheck to go into one main checking account. Then move your money automatically. On payday, send money to your fixed bills account, your savings or emergency fund, your investing account, and whatever remains stays in your spending account. The goal is to make good financial behavior the default. You do not want to wake up every week and decide whether you feel like saving money. You want your system to do that for you. If possible, also line up your bill due dates with your paydays. That way your money is already in the right place when bills hit. The less friction you create around saving and paying bills, the more consistent you will be. Phase 5, build a buffer for real life. One reason budgets break is that real life is unpredictable. A tire blows out, a phone breaks, a medical bill shows up, a family emergency happens, your laptop dies right when you need it. Traditional budgets often collapse because they assume the month will go exactly as planned. It never does. That is why you need a buffer. Your emergency fund is not just a nice idea. It is what keeps a random problem from turning into a financial disaster. A lot of people think they are bad with money when really they are just one emergency away from chaos. The buffer changes that. Even a small emergency fund can make a big difference. Then, once that is built, you can keep growing it and investing more consistently over time. The real goal of this system is not to become obsessive about money. The goal is to make money less stressful. You are not trying to track every penny forever. You are trying to build a setup that lets you live normally without constantly wondering where your money went. That is what makes this an anti-budget. It is not about restriction for the sake of restriction. It is about structure. It is about clarity. It is about making good choices easier and bad choices harder. When you do this right, you stop feeling like money is slipping through your fingers. You know where your money goes. You know what you are allowed to spend. You know what your future is getting. And that changes everything. If this all feels like a lot, here is the shortest version possible. Track your spending. Separate needs, future, and lifestyle. Automate your savings and investments. Give yourself guilt-free money to enjoy. Build a buffer for emergencies. That is the anti-budget. Not perfect, not fancy, but realistic. And realistic is what you can actually stick to. So if your current budget keeps failing, stop blaming yourself and start building a better system. One that respects your life, one that protects your future, one that you will actually follow. That is how you win with money.